Hello and welcome to the University of Lincoln's Accelerated Application event. My name is Sam and I work in the postgraduate team as a postgraduate officer. Thank you for joining us today, first of all. We hope that you'll be able to discover some of the postgraduate options that are available to you, including funding and how you might complete your application. But first, let's think about postgraduate study. Studying a master's degree is an exciting prospect, and there are many valid reasons to consider taking a postgraduate course. Postgraduate study at the University of Lincoln can help you to further or completely change your career, develop your knowledge, enhance your salary, or even help you prepare you to start your own business. It's an investment in you and your future. Each of you today might be at a different stage in the application process. You might be at the start of the process in which you are still finding the course or courses that you may be interested in and wish to apply. On our website, you will be able to find an overview of the postgraduate courses available to you at the University of Lincoln, which I'll show you later on in this session. And from this list, you can choose a course or courses you wish to study or find out more about, making sure you check all the details on there, including entry requirements, fees, content, that sort of information. You may be considering a postgraduate taught program, or you may be considering a postgraduate research program. And the difference between the two largely comes down to the level of independence that you have during your studies. For a taught master's degree, these are a lot like your undergraduate programs if you're in your current third year, in which you'll complete a series of modules following a set timetable of seminars, lectures, and other activities. You'll be much more responsible for studying independently in your free time, but the academics in charge of your course will lead you through it. The research master's degree, on the other hand, are much more independent in nature. You won't have as many timetabled units. In fact, you might not have any. You may just have research skills, for example. Instead, you'll focus on one or more extended projects. You'll still receive support and guidance from an expert supervisor, which will guide your research study, but the focus of your program will be on your own research. So it's important to identify the two differences between the taught and research. It's important to check on the course page for any closing date. Although most of our programs have no official closing date, we always recommend getting your application in as soon as possible. The majority of our taught courses start in September, although there are some courses that have intakes in January/February. So it's important to allow enough time for your application to be considered prior to the start date. For postgraduate taught programs, you'll need to prepare a personal statement, which we'll talk about a little bit later on in this session. And if you're applying for a research program, you'll need to draft a research proposal. And in your application, you'll be asked to give a description of the topic or theme you intend to research. Once you've considered kind of all these options and on which course you'd like to apply for, you'll then start to look at the funding options and submitting your application. So first of all, I'll pass over to my colleague, Catherine Turner, who's the Advice Service Manager at the University of Lincoln. And Catherine will discuss some of the postgraduate funding options that may be available to you before heading back to myself, and we'll run through the methods of applying in the application form itself. Welcome, Catherine.
Hello. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to talk through a number of funding options. All the information I'm going to talk about right now is based on the funding that's available from Student Finance England. So if you would normally be applying to Scotland, Northern Ireland or Wales, there are different funding packages available for master's programmes, and we can give you some more information about that, but the information is a little different than it is in this talk that I'm going to give you right now. Okay, so mainly there are two different types of postgraduate loans available from Student Finance England. One's for a master's and one's for a doctorate, a PhD. If you're looking at doing a master's in this coming year, so starting in 2021, you will get a maximum amount of funding of £11,570. If you're looking at a doctorate, it's actually £27,260. The loan isn't means tested, it just has eligibility criteria, and it's intended as a contribution towards your studies, and it's paid directly to you. Now, there are some different funding packages, which I'm going to touch on if you're doing certain NHS courses and medical courses. Okay, so I'm going to start with some of the requirements. There are certain residency requirements you need to be aware of. So to be able to apply to Student Finance England, you must be a UK national or have settled status in the UK and be ordinarily resident in the UK to start the course on the first day of your course. And you must have been resident in the UK for 3 years prior to the course, and the date that they use is the 1st of September if you're going to start the course at the beginning of the year. The course itself must be an eligible course. So what that means is to be able to get a master's loan, you must be completing the entire master's program. So you can't appel any credits. So you can't use any credits from a different postgraduate course to use as the master's. You must do the entire course. If you do the entire master's, then you can get the loan if you're eligible. You will get the set amount of money that I've described for the whole of the course. So if you're doing a 1-year master's, then you'll get the just over £11,500. If you're doing a 2-year master's, then you'll get that same figure divided over the 2 years of your course. So it's halved. And you can study half intensity. So you can be a part-time student if you're studying at 50% intensity, and the loan is applied for the duration of the course, one set amount for the whole of the course. Okay, there's some personal eligibility as well. So you must be under the age of 60 on the first day of the first academic year of the course. You can't get a master's loan if you've already got a master's degree. You won't be eligible for the funding. And you must apply before the deadline, but the deadline is 9 months after you've started the course. So most people want their money when they start their course, so my advice is to apply as soon as possible, and applications don't normally open until June. They say summer, but it's normally about mid-June. Applications are made online at the gov.uk website, and the application process is usually quicker than the undergraduate process, and this is because they don't have the means testing in the same way as they do for undergraduate funding. Provided you meet the eligibility criteria, then you would be eligible for the loan. If you get a loan, then payments are made directly to you, the student. So it's your responsibility to make sure that you know how much your fees are and things like that. Roughly speaking, it's paid at the beginning of each term, and providing you carry on your course, you'll just get your payments in the way that they describe at the beginning. Now, when it comes to repaying the master's loans and the doctoral loans, they're very, very similar. They're paid back in almost the same way, just the thresholds are a bit different. Interest rate is retail price index plus 3%, and there are no variables, it just stays the same. And interest accrues from the moment you take out the loan. It's written off of anything that you haven't paid off after 30 years. And you start paying it back when you're earning more than £21,000, and you pay 6% of what you earn above that threshold. So if you're earning £22, you're going to pay £60 back because that's 6% of £1,000. And it's spread out through the year, so it works out at £5 per month. The more you earn, the more you're going to pay back. So as I've said, the loan is paid directly to you. So it's your responsibility to make those tuition fee payments. When you enroll at the university, you'll either pay all your tuition fees up front, or you'll be able to set up a payment plan to ensure that those fees are paid in a timely manner. And you can find lots of information about the options in relation to payment plans on the university website. Now, postgraduate loans, there's just some top tips to consider, really. The loan is intended to be a contribution towards the cost of your studies. So it's unlikely that that loan's going to cover everything. So you need to make sure you know exactly how much your tuition fees are. What are your living costs? So what's your rent, your food, costs of travel, books and food and materials, things like that. Where's the money coming from? Are you intending to work part-time? Have you got savings? Before you enrol, just make sure that you've made adequate provision. And remember, there's no other government funding for most master's programs. But provided you've done all your planning and you get everything right, then it's a really great opportunity. The thing to remember is it is a fixed figure regardless of the length of the course. Okay, so it's just important to do the planning. The last thing you need to be worrying about when you start your course is the money side of it. As I've said, I've spoken a bit about the master's loans. Doctoral loans are really similar. It's just that there's some key points to remember. Make sure that when you do make your application, you check whether you're doing it on 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, and make sure that you know which month you start your course, because you can start those at any time. So if you are thinking of applying for the doctoral loan, then please contact us if you've got any specific questions. So let me talk a little bit about some of the other funding packages that are available depending on the course that you're going to do. So if you're looking to do a social work master's, that's actually funded a little bit differently. So if you're looking at doing social work, then there is an NHS bursary available. Now, each university, so the University of Lincoln, will have been allocated a set number of bursaries, and not every student can get one. If you're not lucky enough to get one of the NHS bursaries, then you can apply for the master's loan from Student Finance England, but it is important to remember that this is a 2-year master's and you will only get the one set amount of money for the whole of the course. For the social work bursary, remember it's not a loan, it's a bursary, so it means you don't have to pay it back. It's similar eligibility to the master's loans. You need to make your application each year of the course. And again, there are some residency requirements. If you're going to study your social work master's in England, you usually have to be resident in England to be able to take advantage of the full package. The bursary does also include a contribution towards tuition fees. I think it's just over £4,000 as a contribution towards the tuition fee. There are 2 elements to the bursary, a means tested and a non-means tested element. What that really means is that there's some of the bursary that everyone can get, but then there's another element that they have to check your financial circumstances to be able to award you how much you would be entitled to. That, of course, means that the application process is a little bit longer because they need to make those assessments. There is some support for dependents in this funding package. So if you've got children or adult dependents, there are bursaries and grants available to help you with that. And you can get a disabled students allowance if you have a disability, a mental health condition, long-term health condition, or a learning difference such as dyslexia. You can get disabled students allowance, and you can get that actually with a master's loan as well. So now I'm going to touch just a little bit on some of the other courses that you might be interested in doing as a master's level. And these are courses that are called allied health courses, such as nursing, occupational therapy, or physiotherapy. Now, this funding package, if you're doing a master's program in any of these subjects, is actually the same as the undergraduate funding. So that means that you would get a tuition fee loan and you would get a maintenance loan as well, which is means tested. And again, there is support for dependents in that. Now, if you are thinking of doing that and you've got any questions, obviously I'm here to answer any questions right now, but if you've got some personal family questions that you might want to ask, then you can always email us directly and we can get you some more personal advice about that. Okay, thank you. I hope that's helpful. Seem to have rattled through it, so maybe you've got lots of questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. It's a very informative talk there. I think we've got a few questions that have come through from guests. One of the first questions we'll start off with, do I have to borrow the full amount of the master's loan?
No, absolutely not. You can borrow as much as you want to. Sometimes students just borrow their tuition fees, for example, or just their rent money, but that's the maximum you can get, but you don't have to take it all, no.
Brilliant, thank you very much. And question number 2, it's kind of linked to the first one. Can I change the amount that I borrow?
I would imagine you probably can. I have to be honest, that's not a question that comes up very often. If you put in, for example, that you wanted to borrow the whole amount and you decided you didn't want it all, then I'm sure you'd be able to go back. But you could also just repay it if you didn't want it all.
Brilliant. Yeah, both methods work. And I guess it works the other way as well. If you've maybe undertook the loan, if you're trying to cut the cost, you can contact Student Finance to get that changed.
Yeah. If you decided not to take it all and you wanted it all, as long as you went back to them before that deadline that we spoke about, they would be able to readjust that. Yes.
Brilliant. Question number 3, when will I receive my postgraduate loan? I guess this depends on your method of studying, whether full-time or part-time.
Yeah, basically, when you enroll at the university will tell Student Finance that you're here, and then that will trigger the payment of the loan. And you should get a payment schedule when you make your application, which will give you a pretty good idea of when it will come. It usually comes a few weeks after you've started at the beginning, and then at the beginning of the next 2 terms. And yeah, you get a schedule, but it's basically after you've enrolled.
Brilliant. And I think we've just got one more question here at the moment, but please do write any more questions that you have in the comments so that we'll allow time throughout the session to ask any. Can I receive disabled students allowance if I have a postgraduate loan?
Yes, you can. I didn't mention that very clearly when I was talking. So yes, if you have a disability, a mental health condition, a long-term learning difference, or something like dyslexia, then yes, you can get disabled students allowance, and you would apply for it like you would have done in your undergraduate degree.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Catherine. I think that's all the questions that we have on finance at the moment. If anyone does have any more questions, please do write them in the comments. We also have a presentation that contains all the information that Catherine's just spoke through there for the loans and the funding. So if you would like that information, then please do get in contact with us and we'll be able to share that with you as well. It is important as well to note that most of this information is based for home UK applicants. For international applicants, some of the information is different. You won't have access to the loans, and some of the fees, etc., may be different. If you do have any questions as an international student, you can contact our international team directly on the email address that's just at the bottom there, international@lincoln.ac.uk, and they'll be able, the team there will be able to support you with any questions that you have as an international student applying. But thank you very much, Catherine. I'll let you go now, and we'll move on to the application process. Before we start on the application process, though, I'd like to take the time to talk through some of the scholarships and schemes that we have running at the moment. So for any alumni out there, you may be in your final year of your undergraduate looking to study a postgraduate after you complete and graduate, or you may be a returning alumni who's wishing to come back and study a master's. For alumni who have completed their undergraduate degree at the University of Lincoln, as well as our current final year students, you'll be eligible for the Alumni Scholarship, which is currently valued at a discount of 20% of course fees for UK residents. For international alumni, this is valued at a fixed amount of a £2,000 deduction. If you're eligible for this scholarship, you don't need to apply directly for it. It'll automatically be deducted from your course fees. And if you are a returning student or you graduate and you come back to do a master's, you'll still be eligible for the Alumni Scholarship. It's just that the amount is reviewed each year, so it could go up, it could go down, and you'll be eligible for whatever the discount is for that particular year that you apply. Secondly, we've got a new scheme that we have this year, the St Mark's Scholarships. So to support more students to progress into master's level study this year, the University of Lincoln is introducing a new accommodation bursary to help cover living costs for postgraduates. The St Mark's Accommodation Bursary for home postgraduate taught students will cover 50% of the annual rent in a new range of apartments dedicated to postgraduate students in the St Mark's Student Village. If you are a postgraduate student and you make your application to St Mark's, this discount is automatically again deducted from the fees. Moving on, we're also running our environmental scholarship. So our environmental scholarship is for those who submit an application at our accelerated application event today, or our postgraduate open day, which is coming up on Saturday the 26th of June. And for those that have submitted an application on these events, you'll be eligible to apply for the environmental scholarship, which is valued at £3,000. In the application, you'll need to discuss how you would help to be an environmental champion throughout your master's degree. And then one environmental scholarship will be awarded to a student who's starting in the next academic year. Likewise, we've also got our tree planting pledge. So the University of Lincoln has pledged to plant 1 new tree for every postgraduate study application submitted at the accelerated application event and the open day. The pledge comes as part of the university's work to raise awareness of the current climate emergency and to make a positive impact on this global challenge. The new trees will be planted on our Rise Home campus, which is the centre for our extensive agricultural and forestry research. More information on these scholarships will be sent out to everyone, and they're available also on our website as well. But at this point, I'll introduce Beth, who is the postgraduate manager here at the University of Lincoln. And together we'll run through the application process here at the University of Lincoln. Welcome, Beth.
Thanks, Sam. Hello, everybody.
So first of all, we'll look at the Fasttrack application. And this is relevant for current students at the University of Lincoln in their final year. And this application can be used for those that are considering applying for a postgraduate taught course, and like I said, a current student at the university. When you log into Blackboard, it will look something like this. It will be a lot more populated with different courses that you have. But at the top, you'll see various tabs. And one of the tabs here is Postgraduate Applications. If you just head to here, it will bring you to this page, which lists various events that we've got upcoming, as well as information about the loan and some information about a student's postgraduate experience at the University of Lincoln. But at the top, you've got a Fasttrack application. When you click on here, it will bring you to the Fasttrack application form, which will look something like this. And this narrows the application form down to just a few simple steps, which largely includes, of course, putting down which course you'd like to apply for, but also your personal statement and an academic reference. So you just work your way down through here. Your details at the top will automatically be filled out. You can change your email address if you would like to change that from one that you supplied as you first applied to the university. And the large bulk of the application is a personal statement. And in the personal statement, there's various information that you need to include in there, but you can keep it nice and short from around 250 to 500 words. In the personal statement, we kind of advise, why you're looking at studying a master's, what skills you've learned on maybe your undergraduate that's going to help you complete the master's, what you're hoping to get out of the course that you're hoping to study on, and kind of what career paths that you have or interests that the master's is going to help you pursue on completion.
That's exactly right, Sam. I mean, one of the nice things about this application form is it's designed specifically for students in their final year of study at the University of Lincoln. So if this isn't you and you're in a slightly different category, don't worry, because we'll talk to you about other ways that you can apply in just a moment. But this form is really, really useful because, as Sam said, because you're currently a member of the University of Lincoln, it does pre-fill an awful lot of the information. So it really does fast track your application for you. Sam and I are both members of staff, so when we log into this form, it's not pre-filled for us. But as a student, you would see that your name and your email address are already filled into this information. And also in section 4, current course, it does list your current course as well. So all you need to do is select the course that you want to apply for by just typing that into the box. And then, as Sam said, it's really just a case of adding in whether you want to do the course full or part-time, and then adding your personal statement. And as Sam said, this is quite a small piece of writing. A lot of students get a little bit anxious about what they need to write for this, because it really is your only opportunity to sort of speak to the admission selector and sort of talk to them about why you're the right person to study the programme. But we really sort of say, don't get too worried about it. It's quite a small written piece. We usually recommend between 200 and 500 words. So it's not too long, just a few paragraphs. And as Sam was mentioning earlier, if you focus on what it is about the programme that really interests you, what you've done in the past that makes you particularly suited for that programme, and what you hope to do in the future as a result of doing this programme, it really sort of creates a nice sort of structure for your personal statement. And with regards to what you've done to make you particularly suited to study this master's programme, talking about your academic studies at undergraduate level may be relevant for that, particularly if you're choosing to pursue a master's degree that's directly related to what you studied at undergraduate level. But if you're changing direction slightly or doing something slightly different, you can talk about previous experiences such as work experience or anything like that that might be directly relevant to the course you're applying for. So do use it as an opportunity to discuss you, your personal circumstances. It is a personal statement. We want to know all about you, and it'll give the admission selector a really good indication of your motivations for studying the programme that you want to study. We do have some really super guidance for any students that are sort of looking at this and thinking, I don't really know where to start. So if you would like a copy of that, we will be sending a copy through to everybody that registered for today's event, or you can always drop an email to pginquiries@lincoln.ac.uk to request that document, and we'll just email that across to you. And we talk in that document about, what the admission selectors are typically looking for in a personal statement and a sort of structure guide, and hopefully that'll give you a really good starting point to start drafting down your personal statement. It might take a couple of drafts before you get it down to that magic 200 to 500 word count, but it's a really good exercise in writing concisely and putting your thoughts down and sort of assessing what you've done over the last few years, whether that's been in the classroom or if you're somebody that's coming back to study after a break, what you've done in terms of work experience and how that relates to what you'd like to do next. Would you agree with that, Sam?
I would agree with that, Beth. And the only point I think that I'd add in there is we've got a small selection of courses that has slightly different guidance around the personal statement length. So, for example, physiotherapy and some of our health and social care courses. So it's really important that you check thoroughly the course page that with all the information for each of the courses. So if there is any different guidance, just check the page.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Sam. The course pages are really useful to look at for when you're making your application, because they do sort of let you know whether you're suitable to apply for the programme. They give you all of the entry requirements so you can check whether what you've done is suitable. But as Sam said, for a lot of the sort of health and social care programmes, there is really useful guidance about how to write a personal statement for those programmes and also about any additional work experience that might be required. So for any of the programmes that you're applying for at the University of Lincoln, please do check the course information page to have a look through at what the requirements are for the programme, and that will certainly strengthen your application because you'll be able to directly address what the admission selectors are looking for.
Exactly. And then moving on from the personal statement, one of the final parts of it is adding an academic reference. And for adding your academic reference, it's really good practice to, inform who you intend to have as your academic reference, that you're going to be putting them down on your application. It just helps them prepare for a request to come in for a reference, and it just speeds up the process from that point of view. But a
lot of students worry about who to put down for their reference as well. So we would just say usually either your dissertation supervisor or maybe your personal tutor. They are an academic reference that we're looking for. So if you have had a break from study at any point and you're looking for a reference, particularly later on in the next form that we're looking at, it's always worthwhile getting back in touch with any academics that you had close contact with whilst you're at the university to see if they can provide a reference for you, because the university is looking for an academic reference. They're looking for somebody that can talk about what you're like as a student in the classroom and your sort of research that you've done at the university and your sort of areas of interest. So as much as possible, we do sort of request an academic reference. If it's not possible to get an academic reference, then please do get in touch with us. We can advise you about other options, but it is preferred to have an academic reference. So dissertation supervisor, a good relationship with whilst you've been at the university and have spent lots of time talking with and have seen the sort of research that you're undertaking as a student, and they'll be perfect to sort of tell us what you're like and whether you're suitable for the programme you're applying for.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that covers everything. And like Beth said, if you maybe, once we go on the external form in a moment, if you've had a large gap perhaps between studying your degree and then coming back and doing your master's, don't worry about it. There's lots of options available to you to fill in the reference. Like Beth said, just get in contact with the team with the email address that's at the bottom of the screen there, pginquiries@lincoln.ac.uk, and we'll be able to advise you. But once you've pulled all that information together, you can then hit submit. At this point, it's important to point out that You don't have to apply for just one course. If you're considering maybe 2 or 3 different courses, up to all of the postgraduate taught courses that we have, you can submit applications. So you don't need to be tied to one particular course if you are considering maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Sam, actually, because I think when students apply for their undergraduate degree through UCAS restricts you to a maximum of 5 choices, and that's certainly not the case at postgraduate. You can apply for as many or as few courses as you wish to. For some students, there's only one master's course that appeals to them, and so they apply directly for that programme. For other students, they haven't quite made that decision yet, and so they might apply for several master's programmes, either at one university or at several universities, and you are certainly encouraged to sort of apply to as many or as few master's courses as you wish to. At Lincoln, we don't charge for you to apply, so there's no problem with you applying for many courses, unlike at UCAS where obviously there was a fee for applying. The only caveat we would say to that is that for applying for masters, you do need to write more than one personal statement. So again, that's very different from when you applied for your undergraduate degree through UCAS, where you only had to write one personal statement. When you're applying for a master's, because you're applying for a specific program at a specific university, it's kind of like expected that you've done your research into that program. You kind of know the modules that are going to be offered in that program, the research areas that university has. And so you would usually talk about that and where your history, both academic and work, if you have it, fit with that particular course. And so you would need to write a personal statement in order to be a competitive application for each master's program that you apply for. So do bear that in mind, because obviously, they are quite a big written piece, not in terms of word count, but that it just takes a long time to do. And if you are intending to apply for a number of postgraduate programs, you might want to factor that into your application timeline. But certainly we do encourage students to apply to as many programs as they wish to. And again, always come to us if you want to discuss things before you make your application. We're more than happy to advise or help you with any of those conversations.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Beth. And we've just got a question in from one of our current third-year students. Alyssa says, I applied through the course page on the Lincoln website rather than through Blackboard. I'm a third year at the university. This application didn't ask for an academic reference. Is this still a way of applying?
That's absolutely fine, Alessio. As a final year student at the University of Lincoln, you can apply through the Fasttrack application or through the One Uni application, which we'll look at very shortly. Obviously, because you applied through the One Uni application, it didn't pre-fill a lot of that information for you, so it possibly took a wee bit longer for you to fill that application out. With the One Uni application, it doesn't ask for a reference for some programs initially, but they may get in touch with you at a later date to add your reference in. So do check your One Uni account quite regularly, because it might be that they will ask you to provide your reference details a little bit further down the line. But it's just the way that the One Uni system works. With the Fast Track, we sort of do everything a little bit more quickly, but One Uni, just keep an eye on your account, and you'll probably be asked for those reference details a little while along the line.
Exactly. Like Beth said, just log into your account, check your application. You should receive an email as well, but it usually goes in different stages for evidence. So it might ask for you to supply your proof of your qualification, for example. And also in one of them steps, it will send out a separate reference request in which you will need to fill out more details for your reference, so that they can get in contact with them and send out the reference request. But that's absolutely fine. Let's just do this stuff.
And certainly with the Fast Track application, which we'll just finish up on now, because it's for our current students who are already at the University of Lincoln, we're able to process those a little bit faster. So we do normally try to turn those applications round within 5 working days. So that's one of the other advantages for current students of using the Fast Track application if they wish to. And as we said before, it is only for final year University of Lincoln students that are applying for taught master's programs. If you think you might want to apply for a master's by research or a PhD, then you'll need to use the One Uni application system, which we'll have a look at now, because as Sam said, they ask for research proposals, and we can't sort of accommodate that in the Fast Track application form. We need to have a little bit more information from you. So the One Uni application is much better set up for that.
Perfect. And to access the One Uni application form, so if you've If you're a third year student, you've accessed this form, but you are interested in a research, you can use this link here. However, we'll access the form through the university website. So when you land on the university website, which is lincoln.ac.uk, it'll bring you to this home page here. And to find the list of courses that postgraduate courses that we have here, if you hover over Study With Us, you'll see the postgraduate section here. And at the top, you've got Find a Course. Head on to this web page. And it'll bring you to, it's already pre-populated with management, I'll take that out there. But it'll bring you to our full A to Z listing of all the postgraduate courses that we have available here at the University of Lincoln. At the top, you can use this as a search function to look for any courses that you may be interested in or already know the name of. I'm just going to head to management for now, and we'll look for the MSc Management Postgraduate Taught course, which is this one here. And then I'll head to the web page. All of our web pages for our courses are laid out similar. So here you can see the options available to you for the study. And there's various different information. So you can use this navigator at the top, so you can look at entry requirements, and that'll bring you down to where the entry requirements are. For the MSc Management, it's an honours degree or equivalent. But as we've discussed earlier in the session, this is a great page to do all your research on the course, collect all the information that you need to know, look at the course fees, for example, which will bring you to a separate page if you click on here, as well as looking at the different modules, etc., that are available to you as part of the course. After you've found all that information, you can use the Apply Now button, which is featured at the top. And when you click on here, it will bring you to the online application form, which will look something like this. At this stage, I'm going to move to the test session so that we don't submit a formal application to our admissions department here, but it's a mirrored system to the live system that's featured just there.
So this system, as we said before, is perfect if you're not currently studying at the University of Lincoln on an undergraduate degree, or if you are an undergraduate at the University of Lincoln and are looking to apply for a Masters by Research or a taught PhD programme. And this is our online application system. It is a fairly simple process, and we'll guide you through it. But the first thing that we need to do is you need to register your personal details with us. All the way through the application, the red star is on the fields that are absolutely mandatory. So whenever you're working through the application, if you just keep an eye out for where the red star is, you must absolutely fill in something for each of those fields. Where there's not a red star, it's less necessary to fill that information in. But as we always say, give us as much information as you can, because the more information you give us, the easier it is for us to assess your suitability for the programme. So with the first registration page here, it's basically asking for your family name, your given name, your date of birth, your gender, email, nationality, and to create a password for the account. The family name, date of birth, email, nationality, and password are the only mandatory requirements. They're the ones with the red stars, but if you want to provide the other details for us, that would be really useful. So complete that information and click register, and that will create an account for you. Now, sometimes this happens when you're creating an account that an email address has been used before. Sometimes that can create a duplicate account. So if you've previously attended one of our postgraduate events, or you've previously applied to the University of Lincoln either as an undergraduate student or for a programme in a previous year, we may already have your details on our system. So if you're having any difficulties at all with accessing the registration form for this system, please do get in touch with us using the email at the bottom of the screen, and we can help you with gaining access to that. It might be just a case of resetting the password for you, but any problems, we can sort that out for you. So don't struggle, do get in touch and we can assist you with that. But once you've registered for the One Uni system, your next page you'll see will be this one, which confirms that you've registered, and that will allow you to go through into the One Uni application system. So when you go in, this is the first page that you will see. Now, earlier when we looked at the course information page with the Apply Now button, if you've applied through that route, the course that you applied for will show in the middle of the screen here. Sam hasn't applied through that route, so it basically is showing all I think 790 courses that we currently offer. So we use the search box here to be able to find the programme that we're looking for. So Sam here has typed in management, and this will bring up 6 different records for different management programs that we have available for students at the University of Lincoln. So it's important just to take a look through them before you select the course that you'd like to apply for, because we do have different start dates and also full-time and part-time options for study. So check through the options that are there, make sure it's the program that you want to apply to, that it has the right start date and it has the right sort of whether you want to do full-time or part-time. Most of our programs start in the autumn, in September or October, but we do have a number of programs that start in what's known as Semester B, which is January or February, particularly our health and social care programs. They typically tend to start in January. So do make sure you've got the right entry point for your preferred program. So Sam, what are you looking at here? Are you thinking of an October entry?
Yeah, so for this test application that we'll run through here, we'll put it down for a full-time start in October. All the options that are available for the course will be listed here. So any options that you have, and for the management course, you have the October start date, and you also have a February start date as well, both full-time and part-time. But for this example, we'll use full-time October.
So Sam would just click add to the application there, and that adds the MSc Management programme to Sam's application to the University of Lincoln. Now, as we go through the application, you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen here, there are 7 steps to the application. And as we go through each step, it'll highlight where we are in the application process, and also any previous steps we've undertaken. It'll give you a green tick to let you know that that is complete and you don't need to worry about that anymore. So you can see your progress through the application. It's also important to note that it automatically saves everything for you, so you don't need to feel like you have to complete your application in one sitting. You may want to go away, come back to it a few days later. You can come back and forth as many times as you want to. Everything's saved for you. So step 2 of the application is where you can apply for advanced standing. So a lot of students ask us what advanced standing is, and so to sort of explain it, it's where you can get credit for any previous postgraduate study that you've undertaken. So a good example of this might be if you've previously studied a postgraduate certificate in education and now you're looking to do a master's in education. Some of the study that you've taken as part of that postgraduate certificate can be recognised as part of the master's in education, and so you wouldn't necessarily need to study as many modules as part of that master's because you've already studied to postgraduate certificate level. Now, the majority of students that apply to us haven't previously undertaken any postgraduate study. And if that's the case with you, you don't need to worry about step 2. You just need to click next in the top right-hand corner of the screen. If you have done some previous postgraduate study, you can go into step 2 and add that in for us, and you'll be asked to supply some additional documents a bit further along. If you've accidentally switched on step 2, it's easy enough to switch off. You just go back into step 2 and just untick the where you've added it in. So Sam, if you add that in so we can show people. If you click add into the application, you'll see here there's a green button that says it's being considered. If you realise you've added that accidentally, which many people do, you can remove it by just clicking the blue remove button. That just takes it off and that removes it from your application. So it's really easy to remove that if you've accidentally added it. So step 3, sorry Sam, did you want to add anything else on the advanced standing?
No, I think that's covered everything for the advanced standing. It's also worth noting that when applying advanced standing, you won't be completing your a full master's because you're already transferring over credits. The example that you used, Beth, is a really good one for the PGCE, where you can transfer your certificate over for 60 credits, and then you only need to complete 120 credits of a master's, which is effectively 2/3 of the course. This will affect your ability to apply for the loan. As part of the master's loan, as Catherine discussed earlier, you need to be completing a full master's course. So if you're transferring credits over, you're only then part completing the course, and you wouldn't therefore be eligible for the loan.
I think that's a really good point, Sam. Actually, I think something worth highlighting. So that is something to consider. You can take advanced standing, but it does potentially affect your ability to access student finance. So do take that into consideration if it's something you want to apply for. So step 3 of the application form, some of this will be pre-filled because it takes information from the registration page that you completed to create your One Uni account, but it allows you to give us a little bit more information. So let us know any preferred names that you have, any other information like that. Again, as we've said previously, the application will have red asterisks on it with the areas that you have to complete, the mandatory requirements. If it doesn't have a red asterisk, you don't have to provide that information if you don't want to. We do ask for you to provide information about any disabilities that you have as part of your application. Now, this will not affect your ability to be taken onto the course. This is not going to penalise you in any way. It's really just so that university is aware of anything that you would like to declare as part of your application, so we can put support in place to support you with your studies when you arrive at the university. So if you decide to select yes here, there's a number of tick boxes where you can select anything that you'd like to declare to the university as part of your application. Otherwise, tick no, and you don't need to complete anything in here, but this is a mandatory requirement. And as I said, it won't affect your application. It's just so we can make sure that we're supporting you as a student at the university.
Yeah, that's a great point. We have a fantastic support service here at the University of Lincoln. And if you would like any support or accessing any of the support services that we do have, then this is a great place to put it down on the application. But you can also access them services later on as well. If you do start at the university and you need any support of any sort, you can head to the support services, which is featured on main campus. They also run online sessions at the moment whilst we're working from home. So that service is there for use.
It's an incredibly good support service, and they are so accessible. They're right in one of the central buildings in the university, and you can just pop along and have a chat with people and they'll be able to help you out. So yeah, do let us know about that. And if you want to have a chat with any of the members of the support service before you arrive at the University of Lincoln, just drop us an email over to the email address below and we can put you in touch with them, and they can let you know about all the different services they have available to support you whilst you're a student. Also on this page, we need to know your nationality details. This is to ensure that you are correctly assessed for your fee status. So whether you're eligible to pay home fees or whether you're eligible to pay international fees. So it basically lets us know where you were born, where your area of permanent residence is, and why you've been living there. So for example, today Sam's filling it out as a UK citizen who was born here and has been living here all of his life, which a lot of our students will be. However, if you're an international student and you've lived elsewhere, or you're a UK student who's perhaps lived for periods overseas, just let us know that information and we can assess the correct fee status for you to make sure that you're paying the right fees for your programme. Again, if there's any questions, please just let us know. And if you are an international student, you are more than welcome to get in touch with the international office for that additional support if you need a visa or anything like that at international@lincoln.ac.uk, and they can support you with any international questions at all. Do you have anything else to add on there, Sam?
No, that's covered everything, I think, on this page. Like I said, I filled it out as an English resident for the full 3-year period. The email address, international@lincoln.ac.uk, is at the bottom of the screen. So if you are an international student, you might have visa questions, you might be a British citizen that's been living overseas as well. You can contact the international team and they'll be able to advise you on any questions that you may have. But for the purpose of this application, we'll move to the next page as this one is now complete.
Yeah, I mean, step 3 really is letting us know any disability requirements and your sort of like your nationality. So once you've done that on that stage, it's really easy to move on to the next stage. And as you can see, as we're moving through this application, those green ticks are going in with step 1, 2, and 3. So you can see how we're moving through. Step 4 lets us know how you'd like us to contact you. So the university will get in touch with you quite a bit during the application cycle. They'll get in touch with you to request additional documents. They'll get in touch with you to provide you with more information about when the student loans open, about accommodation information. And, the postgraduate team will get in touch with you through the application cycle to let you know about events that you might be interested in. And also we like to send you things occasionally. So when our students firmly accept their place at the University of Lincoln, we send you a marvellous University of Lincoln hoodie for you to wear. And so, you know, we do like to keep in touch with you whilst you are applying to the university, and help you to start feeling part of the University of Lincoln family before you've even arrived with us. So let us know your telephone number, double check your email address is correct and update it if necessary, and provide us with a postal address so we can send those goodies out to you during the application year. When you're filling out the address details in the find address section, if you just type your postcode in there and wait a few minutes, it will drop down a few different options for you to select your address from. So you don't need to type it in yourself. It will auto populate it from the postal code for you. At the bottom of the screen there, you'll see there's another section that's called agent details. If you're a UK national, you don't need to worry about this. This is really to support overseas students that are applying with the support of an overseas agent through our international office. So again, it doesn't have those red asterisks on there. You don't need to worry about it unless you're an agent overseas. So just ignore this section and carry on to the next. So step 5 is where you can record the your ability to sort of meet the requirements for the programme. So it's looking at the qualifications you'll hold at the start of the course. Sometimes students get a bit confused because they haven't maybe finished their degree studies yet. They're still in their final year, and they ask about whether they should include their A-levels or any previous study they did before they started their bachelor's degree. But really, this is about the qualifications you'll hold on the first day of your course. So do tell us about any bachelor's degree studies that you're currently completing, whether that's at Lincoln or somewhere else. So the first question on this, and you'll see with both of these questions, there is an orange banner that says mandatory. So it's really important that you complete both of these sections in order to be able to progress on to step 6 of the application. The first section asks for the highest level of qualification that you'll hold on the start of your postgraduate programme. So that's for most students will be the bachelor's degree that you're just completing or have recently completed. If you're applying for a PhD, a postgraduate research programme, then it might be that you've already completed a master's degree, in which case please add that on there. But for most students, that would be a bachelor's degree. Would you agree with that, Sam?
Yeah, I absolutely would agree with that as well. If any other qualifications are needed at this point, so you might be applying for example, an finance, MSc finance course, in which you may need to provide evidence of an A-level mathematics, a particular grade, or some of our courses also require evidence of a grade C or above at GCSE English and Maths. If any of that information is required, it will be clearly stated here.
Yeah, and you can add that in. So let's start off, first of all, with the highest level of qualification. So that's the highest qualification that you'll hold at the start of your degree. So if we click on the blue add button, and this allows you to select the qualification for entry. There is a drop-down box, but usually it would be your bachelor's degree, which is listed under first UK degree with honours. I think it is, isn't it, Sam? UK first degree with honours?
UK first degree, yeah. Just waiting for the drop down to come down.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay. So oftentimes this throws people because they say, well, I did a degree, but I didn't get a first class grade in it. I got a 2-1 or I got a 2-2. The first in this doesn't refer to the classification of degree you achieved. It's more about this is the first higher education qualification that you've taken. Obviously, your master's might be your second. So when it asks for you here, please do put UK first degree with honours. It's not asking for your classification. The second part, the My Qualifications part, is where you can provide us with a little bit more information about that highest level of qualification. So it asks you whether you currently hold or have previously studied towards a formal qualification. We hope the answer for that is yes. So select the yes category. Let us know the qualification type. So again, you can type in here. If you type degree in here, it'll bring up the degree options. But it might be that you've done a master's or whatever it is that you've done previously. Let us know. So for most students, that would be an honours degree or above qualification. If you can't find your qualification on the list, you can type it in the box below. That's not a problem. So if you've done something a little bit different, by all means, let us know that in there. If you can't find it, don't worry. Then let us know the place where you studied that, whether that's the University of Lincoln or another university either in the UK or overseas. Let us know the subject that you studied. So that's really important because some of our master's programs do require evidence that you've had previous study of that program. So for example, if you're coming to do our forensic psychology degree, we would expect you to have completed a bachelor's degree in psychology for that program. So letting us know about the subject is really, really helpful. Not all of our degree master's programs require you to have studied a subject in order to get onto that. So, you know, it's not mandatory in order to get onto a master's degree. To give you another psychology example, our master's in developmental psychology doesn't require you to have previously studied a psychology degree. So do, again, check the entry requirements for those programs. But if you're applying for a program that does have knowledge of that subject as part of the entry requirements, this is a really good place to let us know that. And then also whether you've completed the qualification. So if you are in the final year of your bachelor's degree, let us know, no, you haven't completed that yet, and then we won't expect the evidence that you've completed it from you at this point. But if you have completed it, drop down and say yes, and that will give you the opportunity to provide us with a little bit more information, such as the date that you completed that bachelor's degree, and also the result that you achieved, whether that was a first, 2-1, whatever it might be. So it just gives us a little bit more information. But obviously, if you haven't completed that qualification yet, you don't have that information to share with us, so we don't ask for it if you say no. Once you've completed all of this, you can save it, and that is added to your record. Now, as Sam mentioned earlier, some of our master's programs do request that you have other qualifications for entry. So, for example, Sam gave the example of the finance program that might ask for an A-level mathematics, or for some of our health and social care programs, we do particularly ask for GCSEs in maths, English and science. And again, you can add those in here. You don't need to add in your A-levels if they're not requested, and you don't need to add in your GCSEs if they're not requested. What you need to do is prove that you have the entry requirements that are listed on the course information page. So do take a look at that, do look at what they're looking for, and add those qualifications in. Would you have anything else on there, Sam?
No, I think we've covered everything there. It's just, again, as you've seen the ticks down the side, once we've completed the sections and all the information is there. Also, when you've completed these sections, you'll see that these have changed to response received. It's also worth noting that you can provide up to 2 records of your highest level of qualification if, for example, you wanted to include your undergraduate and a postgraduate certificate that you might have completed. And in your My Qualifications, you can provide up to 15 different records. As discussed, you only need to submit what is required. So in most cases, it is your highest level of qualification, which is your undergraduate. But you can also include any qualifications which may assist your application. So you might have done some short courses that may assist your application in applying for maybe physiotherapy, for example. Then perfect, put them down there because that's going to assist your application, particularly if you've referred to them in your personal statement.
Yeah, I think they're really good points, Sam. I think, as we were saying earlier, the more information you can provide, the better. So if you have anything qualification-wise that you think would support your application, please do let us know about it here. Because as we said, you know, if you don't include it, we can't consider it. If you include it and it's not important, we can always ignore it. But if it's, you know, if you don't include it and we don't know about it, that's obviously a missed opportunity. So provide us with as much information as you can if you think it will be helpful with your application.
Absolutely.
So step 6 of the application is our last sort of major part of the application, and is possibly the part of the application that may take you the most time to put together. As you'll see in this example application, we have a number of different things that are asked for as part of this. Now, this will vary depending on the course that you're applying for. So you might be asked for slightly different things than we have showing here. So for some courses, you might be asked to provide evidence of whether you have a criminal record check, particularly if you're working with vulnerable people. For some courses, particularly our arts courses, you might be asked to upload a portfolio. As we said earlier, it might be that you're asked for a reference at this stage, depending on the programme. So there will be some slightly different things that are added in here. The academic proof of qualification section allows you to upload copies of certificates for qualifications that you've completed. So with steps 5, where we provided information about the bachelor's degree that we had completed, and if, for example, you'd been requested any information about GCSEs or A-levels that you completed as part of that entry requirements for the programme you're applying for, you can add here any of those documents. Now, obviously, this is an optional part of step 6. It's not mandatory, and that's because we know a lot of students applying to us will still be in their final year of study and might not have finished those qualifications yet, and so won't have the certificates to share with us at this stage, but you will be asked for it at a later date when you've achieved those qualifications. So if you have the qualifications, fantastic, please upload them in this section. If you haven't got them yet, that's no problem. Obviously, when you get your certificates in the summer, you can share them with us at that point. Also, you will always have in this section additional documents, and the additional documents section is really anything else you want to tell us that will support your application. For many applicants, they have taken a break from study and gone into the world of work, so you might want to include a CV here, or maybe a little sort of written piece about how any work you've done particularly relates to what you want to study with us. You can add anything else in here you wish to. So if there's anything that you think would be useful, whatever that might be, please do add it into the additional documents. For the course that Sam's applying for, we need a personal statement for it. And we talked a little bit about the personal statement earlier, but this is where you can add that in. As Sam said, this is a 200 to 500 word written piece, but it might be that you have to write something slightly different if you're applying for some of our health programs. As we've said before, the easiest way to do this is to write this in a Word document. And if you're using the Fasttrack application through Blackboard, you can just copy and paste that into the Fasttrack application. Or if you're using the One Uni application, you can upload that Word document here so that you've got it as part of your application. Sam, is there anything else you wanted to add on those 3 points?
Yeah, just to pick up on one point there, in step 5, you'll see on the side of that it says enter academic history, enter employment history, sorry. As you'll notice, we didn't submit any employment history there. That's because this course doesn't require you to have a level of employment history, so it's not a mandatory field. However, as Beth said, on this section here, if you do have work experience which is going to aid your application, you can include it here in terms of a CV. With step 5, that's for some of our courses, for example, our nursing course, in which you're required to have 650 hours work experience. Therefore, it'd be a mandatory field that you would see in step 5 as part of your application and the entry requirements. But as we've discussed, if you do have anything that's relevant that's going to assist your application, make sure you get it down on there, whether it's the additional academic achievement or a CV for the work experience that you may have completed. As you'll see on here, sorry, Beth.
No, I was going to say, I think that's really important, just to make sure that you are including everything you need to include. And obviously because this is a taught master's programme, it's requiring a personal statement. But if Sam was applying for a master's by research or a PhD, rather than seeing a personal statement section here, we would see a research proposal section here, where it would be expected that Sam would upload a research proposal instead of a personal statement. And that's because the research proposal for a master's by research program or a PhD program really forms the foundation of what you're going to be researching as part of that program. And so it's really important for the university to have an understanding of what you plan to research as part of that year for your master's by research, or 3+ years for your PhD. It doesn't have to stay in stone. It can change, and we know it probably will change once you get started on your research work. But we really do need you to have an idea and enough strength within that research for you to hang that sort of research on, so that our academics can take a look at what you're planning to do and make sure that the research idea and what you want to look at is going to be sufficient for the length of programme that you're studying and the level of qualification that you're studying. With the research proposal for a master's by research, we'd normally be looking at sort of 1,000 to 1,500 words for that. For a research proposal for a PhD programme, we would usually be looking at 3,000 to 5,000 words for that. And just like with the personal statement, we do have some really useful detailed guidance on how to structure and write that research proposal. So if you are in the process of making an application for a master's by research or a PhD programme, would like some support with how to write the research proposal, please do get in touch with the postgraduate team using the email address below, and we can send that guide through to you. But very much like the personal statement, we'd recommend writing it in a Word document so that you can upload it into your application very, very easily. And Sam's just showing here how you would upload a document into this part of the application.
Yep, so I've just dragged a Word document over from my files over into the section here. You'll see it's uploaded there, and then when you click save, you'll see the mandatory field change to response received. On this application, I've applied as if I am still completing my undergraduate degree and therefore cannot provide the evidence as of yet for the academic proof of qualification. That's viewed here in the optional sections. Once you do have that academic proof, you can log in to your account and upload these details at a later date when you do receive your certificate. Alternatively, you can note your application ID, which is always featured in the top left of your application, and you can send that to admissions@lincoln.ac.uk if you are experiencing any issues, or you've got something on your application that you really wanted to include and on review you've missed that out. You can always access your application through that. It's always good as well to email from the same email address in which you've created your account as well. It just helps find your record a little bit easier alongside your application ID.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really important, Sam. I think the other thing to mention here is when you upload documents into the system, once they're on the system, it's not very easy to delete them. So sometimes students upload their personal statement and then do additional work on their personal statement and want to upload a new personal statement, but it won't let you take the old personal statement down. So we would say make sure that when you upload any documents, they're the final and correct version that you would like to send to the university. If you accidentally upload something and want to change it, that's not a problem. You can email them directly through to the university in the way Sam was saying by sort of quoting your application ID number. But, in order to make sure it's just a little bit less stressful for you, we would always recommend that you just upload those final and correct documents as part of your application.
Brilliant. So that's step 6 complete, which is the main bulk of the online application, which will bring you into step 7, which allows you to review and submit your application. You can see which documents that you've uploaded here. And this is the step that you can log back into after you submit your application. And you'll see the status of the required the application requirements. You'll be able to see which stage they're at. So once this is processed by admissions, you'll see here if you're missing any documents in which they're waiting on. For the academic proof of qualification or any of the application requirements, you will need to fulfill these requirements prior to starting the course. So you can submit these right up to your course start date, as long as you can prove that you've met the application requirements prior to the start date.
Absolutely. And at this point, Sam, it's really the final stage of the application. So it's just checking over that you're happy with anything. If you want to go back and have a look at any of the previous steps, you can just click on them and go back and take a look at them and make sure you're happy with all of these responses that you've put in. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to progress at all if you didn't have those green ticks next to each of the steps. So they're complete, but you might just want to check over to make sure that you've given the right information, you've spelt your email address correctly, you've put your telephone number in correctly, so we can contact you. But once you are happy with every single one of the steps, then the final stage is just to click that submit button in the top right hand corner, and that application will then be submitted to the university. It goes through to our admissions team, who check everything over, make sure all the documents are right. If everything looks good, then they'll send it over to the school or the department for consideration. Our schools and departments do try to respond as quickly as they can to applications. Obviously, at different times of year and for different programs, they have slightly different turnaround times, but we do try and get you a response as quickly as we can. It's a lot easier if we do have all the documents and information that we require. So as I said earlier, do give us as much information as you can. Some of our programs need to look at portfolios or interview as part of the process. So obviously that will make things a little bit slower, but for most programs, we're able to make a response fairly quickly. And then the other thing to mention is that for PhD programs, the application process is a wee bit slower, just because you're writing that 3,000 to 5,000 word research proposal, which is read by more than one academic member of staff within the school or the department. It does take a little bit longer for them to review your research and make sure that it's a good fit for the university and that we're going to be able to adequately support you in that research. So we normally say for a research application that it might take between sort of 5 to 8 weeks for a research application. So that's a lot slower than a taught master's programme. So if you're a taught master's applicant, it's likely you'll hear a lot sooner than that. But yeah, we do recommend that if you haven't heard anything and you're a little bit concerned, just drop the postgraduate inquiries team a message. We can sort of like look into things for you, but you do have access to the One Uni application system 24/7 wherever you are in the world, so that you can check on the status of your application as well. And as soon as a decision's been made, you'll be able to see that in there, and you'll receive an email from the university confirming that as well.
Absolutely, and that wraps up the online application form. You've made some really great points there at the end, Beth. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to add that we might have missed out.
There's a lot to talk about, isn't there? It's a lot of things to think about. And that's the thing, if at any point, if you do need any help with your application, please do reach out to the postgraduate team. We're incredibly experienced with the applications here. We can provide advice and guidance and support with you through the application. We also offer one-to-one appointments. And I know Sam's offered everybody that attended today the opportunity for a one-to-one with a member of the postgraduate team who can guide you through your application and support you with that. But even if you're watching this at a later date and you would like some help with your application, please do reach out to us and we can set up a one-to-one for you at a time that suits you and basically guide you through that application process, as well as sending over, as we said earlier, guidance on how to write a personal statement or your research proposal, depending on what sort of program you're applying for.
Absolutely, and just on the back of Beth's comments there, I've left a comment on both of the platforms in which I've shared the link. So you can either book a one-to-one appointment with a member of the team through PG Inquiries at Lincoln, as well as any other questions that you have. But I've also shared a questionnaire there in which you can fill out some of your details and book a slot with one of our advisors next week. And we can assist you with your application if you do have any kind of bespoke questions. You might have different thoughts about postgraduate and which route that you might want to take as well. We can certainly sit down and have a chat with you about your experience, what you might be interested, what might be suitable for you, the different courses that are available, and also cover any of the elements that we've covered here. So like Beth mentioned earlier on, we've got support documents for personal statements, for producing your research proposal.
I think Sam made a really good point there, actually, in terms of, we can support you with looking at programs that you might want to study. As we mentioned earlier, there's an awful lot of programs at the University of Lincoln that are considered conversion programs. They're programs that you can study no matter what you've done for your undergraduate degree. So you don't just need to stick with a choice that you made at 17 for your bachelor's degree. There is so many opportunities to change direction, and a master's degree is a really great opportunity to maybe move in a different direction, get that vocational experience and sort of go somewhere that you hadn't thought was an option for you when you were 17. Bachelor's degrees really give you a good grounding, but I think for a master's degree you can either get that specialisation if it's a subject you're really passionate about that you want to continue on from your bachelor's degree studies, or it allows you to change direction and get that specialist vocational experience so that you can go into amazing careers no matter what you want to do. So do have a chat to us. Even if you think it might not be your option, we might be able to make a suggestion that might work for you. So do come and have a conversation with us.
Absolutely. And if anyone who's listening has any questions, then please do write them in the chat, and we can dedicate some time now to answer any questions that you may have. I can see that we've got 2 questions in at the moment. We'll just move to the first question. Can I submit more than one application?
Yeah, absolutely. As we mentioned earlier, you are welcome to submit as many applications as you wish. The nice thing about applying as a postgraduate student is you're not sort of tied to the undergraduate UCAS application system. You're usually applying directly to the universities, and so there's no maximum number of programs or universities you can apply to. Obviously, as we said earlier, one of the disadvantages of applying for postgraduate is that you do need to write a personal statement for each of the programs that you're applying for, which is a little bit more of a laborious process. So that might make a decision for you that you don't want to apply to quite as many programs. We normally recommend no more than 3, but if you are very keen on applying to more than that, that's absolutely fine. Nobody's going to be cross with you for it or tell you can't do it. It's entirely up to you. Anything you wanted to add on that, Sam?
No, I think you've answered that really well. In short, yes, you can submit more than one application, but it's very rare that a student's looking at more than, maybe 2-3 options. There might be 2 particular courses in your subject area that you're considering. It might be creative writing and an English masters, for example. Maybe just pulling examples out the air, or you may be looking at building on your undergraduate knowledge, so business and management. You may want to do a management masters, but then you might also be considering a teaching qualification as well, and in that case you can submit for an application for your PGCE and also submit an application for your masters as well, and that gives you a really good foundation to make a decision later on when you evaluate different options.
I think that's absolutely right, Sam. It's just options, isn't it? It's just giving you lots of options. And certainly at the University of Lincoln, we don't charge you for making an application. An application is completely free. Now, other universities have slightly different policies, but certainly at Lincoln, there's no cost to submitting an application. So, there's nothing to lose, really. It's your application, you put it in, and then, there's all sorts of exciting opportunities that might come out of it.
Thank you very much. And we'll swiftly move on to the next question. We've got a couple that have come in so far. Can I write more than a word limit in my personal statement?
Yeah, you can. I mean, we do recommend a word limit of 200 to 500 words for a reason. It's just because, our admission selector is going to be reading a number of applications in one sitting. They don't want to be going through pages and pages of pages. It is a good ability to be able to write concisely. So a personal statement of 200 to 500 words, it's a really good length to write. But if it ends up being 570 words, that's absolutely fine. If it ends up being 600 words, that's absolutely fine. But we usually recommend try to keep it around the size of an A4 sheet of paper. That's a really good length for a personal statement. And you should be able to tell us in that length, 3 or 4 paragraphs, exactly why you're a really good candidate for the programme that you're interested in applying for. As we said earlier, some of the personal statements for some of our programs, like the health and social care programs, are a little bit more constrained. They do ask for some very specific things in those for those programs. So do double check the entry requirements and the course requirements on the course information page, because if there are any specific requirements, like for the health and social care programs, they will be listed on there. And I know they have a slightly different, it's like the UCAS, isn't it? It's like 4,000 characters, sort of 47 lines of text. So they're a little bit more constrained than the other programs, but as a rule 200 to 500 words is fine. If you go slightly over, that's absolutely fine with us.
Absolutely. And I discussed earlier on as well in your personal statement, if you cover kind of 4 key topic areas or plan it around there, then you're covering a lot of what the personal statement is trying to get out of an applicant and demonstrating the skills, experience, and the drive for studying the masters. Just move on to a question that we've received from through YouTube from Carabao Tutorials. Are all postgraduate courses eligible for maintenance loans? So
not all of them are. There's some courses that aren't eligible. So our recommendation is either to talk to a member of the funding advice team, such as Catherine, who was with us earlier. She'll be able to tell you whether the programme you're interested is available for the maintenance loan, or to take a look at the UK government website, which talks about the eligibility criteria for the master's loan. There are a couple of programmes where the funding is slightly different. For example, the healthcare programmes, I know students apply for the NHS sort of bursaries through that. So there is some slightly different options. But if you want to ask about your personal circumstances, please do get in touch with the funding advice team. You can do that either by contacting us and we can put you in touch with them, or you can contact them directly. Sam, is there anything else you wanted to add on there?
No, I'll just point out that it's for the main master's loan. It's not a maintenance loan. It's a master's loan. It's not done on household income, as Catherine discussed earlier. And the eligibility depends on, your course, your age, your nationality or resident status. And they're the main 3 kind of areas to consider. But as Beth mentioned, on the Gov website, it's really clear on the master's loan of, what's included, your eligibility criteria, etc.
And I think actually you made a good point there that it isn't a maintenance loan. So the total amount for the master's loan, which is 11,570, is provided for you to pay for your tuition fees and your any living costs that you want to. So that money is paid directly to you. It's not paid to the university like it is for your undergraduate. So it's your money to manage as you wish. So some students take it out to pay for their tuition fees. Some students take it out to pay for their accommodation. Some students take it out to cover both. But the money is paid to you to use to spend as you choose. So oftentimes students will take a part-time job to give themselves a little bit additional money to support their studies. But as Sam was mentioning earlier, we do have quite a host of scholarships and bursaries enabled to there to support you whilst you're a student with us. So as Sam mentioned, if you have previously studied at the University of Lincoln, either completing your studies this year or have studied with us in the past and have gone off to do other things, there is the Alumni Scholarship available to you for home students. That's a 20% discount on your tuition fees, which is a huge saving and does mean that that master's loan goes that little bit further. And also this year, as Sam mentioned, we do have the St Mark's bursary that's been launched, which allows students to apply for accommodation in our brand new St Mark's accommodation block, which opens this September. And it's a postgraduate accommodation block, so you would only be living with other postgraduate students. So it's a little bit of an older, a little bit more scholarly community, and it gives you a 50% discount on that accommodation for the year, which includes your insurance, your utilities and your broadband. So it's a really good saving to be had, and again helps that postgraduate loan go that little bit further. We also have the Environmental Scholarship, as Sam mentioned earlier, available, and that can provide a £3,000 bursary to one student who is successful in that Environmental Scholarship. And I know Sam will be sending around information to people that attended today about how to apply for that. So there is a number of different scholarships and bursaries, and they're just three that we've touched on today. There's quite a few on the university's website, so do take a look at them. There might be things that you're eligible for that you can apply for that can help you make sure that that money goes that little bit further and make it a little bit more comfortable for you whilst you're studying your postgraduate qualification.
Absolutely. I think we've covered pretty much everything that I can think of for postgraduate application. There's a lot of information in there that we've included in the session today. As Beth said, we'll be sending out a copy of this recording to everyone that's booked on today, as well as other supporting documents, so any personal statement guidance that you need, as well as the presentation from Catherine as well, to include all the finance information that was covered earlier in the session. It's lots of information to kind of digest through that presentation. But again, if you do have any questions at all, I'll just add our email address to the bottom again for anyone that's not had the time to note down. But
the other thing to mention is we've got lots of events coming up over the next few months that are designed to give you more information about the university. So we have a lovely event taking place next month, which is our virtual postgraduate open day, and that's on Saturday, the 26th of June. And that's a really great opportunity to speak to our programme leads and learn more about the programmes that you're really interested in. So you can ask all those questions about the content of the programme, how you'll be assessed, what the studies will be. So please do come along to that if you have any questions that you'd like to ask our programme leads. If you can't make it for whatever reason, you'd love to speak to one of our programme leads, you've got our email address below. Just get in touch with us and we can connect you with them. We've also got a really exciting event that we are so looking forward to on Tuesday the 29th of June, which is our postgraduate campus showcase. We've been delivering all of these activities online for the last year and a half, and we haven't been able to show you the beautiful campus that we have at the University of Lincoln. But on the 29th of June, we're really hoping that we'll be able to invite you to visit our campus, where we'll be providing campus tours, so you can see around our fantastic campus, perhaps see some of the facilities that we have on the campus for particular programmes, and also visit the St Mark's accommodation to see whether it might be a nice place for you to live. So do take a look at our events pages if you'd like to book on for either of those events. Additional to that, we've got lots of masterclasses running, which provide specific information about particular programmes and again allow you to learn loads more about what it might be like to study at the University of Lincoln. And as we get closer to the start date of the programme through the summer, we'll also be offering our welcome and prep events where you can meet with the programme lead and other applicants for the course and just ask those final questions that you need to ask before you start, such as, you know, what reading should I do before I start, and get to know some of the other people that are going to be studying on the programme. So we'll be in touch with you, letting you know about all of those events, and we'll certainly be in touch in June to let you know when the postgraduate student loan opens as well. But do take a look at our events page. If there's anything that you'd like to join us for, we'd love to see you again.
Yep, and bookings will be going live on our website. They're already live, obviously, for our open day taking place on the 26th of June. And our bookings will be going live very soon for the campus tours that we'll be offering, facility tours and accommodation tours on Tuesday, 29th of June. And we're really excited to start, you know, welcoming people back onto our beautiful campus here at Lincoln. So we're really excited for those dates. But
I mean, our students are already back, aren't they, Sam? They're certainly enjoying all the sunshine at the moment. And I know all the students' union bars and things have been very busy with students sitting outside enjoying the sunshine and getting to spend some time with each other. But it'll be really nice to invite our prospective students and visitors back to sort of have a look around the campus and get a feel for the place, because it's been a long time since we've been able to offer any open days or visits actually on the campus. So it's really nice that we're starting to get back to that.
Yeah, and it's an amazing campus, a campus university featured right in the city centre. Everything's within walking distance, and you get you really fall in love with the place when you do get to visit the campus in person. So
yeah, I mean, it's that one of the reasons why we made Modern University of the Year this year. You know, it's such a great campus. The facilities are amazing. Everything's really close. You're only 10 minutes from the city centre. It really does have everything you could possibly need as a student, and amazing facilities and support from you know, the university as well. So if you would like to come and see us, we'd love to see you. So do come and join us on the 29th of June.
Absolutely. And would also like to thank you for joining us today. It's been great to speak to you all today. We hope that we've answered a lot of the questions that you have at the moment for postgraduate study. But like we've said throughout, if you do have anything that you would like to follow up with, or you are completing your application, you have questions that come up at a later date, just get in contact with us. We can arrange a phone call at any time, or any support that you need. The team's on hand, both myself, Beth, and our colleagues. So if you need any help, get in contact. But we wish you the best of luck with your applications, and wish you well as well. And we hope to hear from you soon.
Have a great evening. Bye now, everybody.
Bye-bye.